the Dauntless. Get moving, people. We need that package ASAP. We made a few bad assumptions when the inevitable went radio silent, and now we're paying for it. Herbert commands as people rush around the Nerd Squad's little area. It's as much a tribute to obsession as it is a proper research laboratory. I came as soon as I was called. Is it really so bad? Dr. Ivan Grace walks in with long, gentle strides. Unlike most Co-B, Herbert has to look up somewhat to meet his gaze. He's in an active combat zone and has his communications and navigation fragged. I'd say that's pretty bad. But your brother? The inevitable as a whole. But I need to focus on Harold as he's our way in. Of course, like affecting like. You do know that this has, right, that's why you're bringing me in. Abnormal axiom capabilities. More than you, but you're going to be what's channeling into me so we can connect everything up to Harold. Make sense? Have you already made some contact with him? Yes, and I'm maintaining it well. I was wondering what you were doing there. I'm surprised you couldn't tell outright. Herbert notes, I know you're connected somewhere, but I can't tell specifically where you're connected to. So I was assuming it wasn't my business. Well, it is. I need that connected, empowered to the point that we can send physical objects. Thankfully, this kind of maneuver has been done before, but Harold has been making a point of distinguishing himself from me. So he and I are, oddly enough, not as close to each other as Jasper and Horace the last time we did this. This will be interesting if nothing else. And we're going to be on standby in case more is needed. We have it from Admiral Cistern. We give them all aid and courtesy we can. Well, this is either going to be a dull or interesting day. I'm not sure which one I want more, Herbert admits. That's because you're an adrenaline junkie. Most of your species is addicted to that self-produced combat stim. May as well say I'm addicted to sleep or water. You are, it's just that there's lethal withdrawal symptoms, and you're functional while under the influence, Dr. Grace says, and Herbert just gives him a frown. Cute you may be, boy, but I get it from my daughter so much I can no longer be moved. Herbert quickly starts mussing up his face, bends his knees ever so slightly to make himself a hair shorter, and looks at Dr. Grace with big shimmering eyes and quivering lips. The Kobe man is not looking at him, and in fact has his eyes entirely closed. Nope, not doing it. Not playing that game. Get into a ready position. It's inevitable. He feels the axiom pull and twist around him, probability stretching so wide it's beyond the breaking point and looping right around again to being perfectly understandable. The odds are in his favor as percentile chances of the device actually being in his hands rise upwards and upwards until finally the galaxy simply surrenders to the madness and he feels the communicator in his hands. The axiom around him is nearly null, and he's actually surprised he didn't null this section of the ship and disrupt everything without an electrical or analog backup. He activates the device and sees there are numerous files already downloaded. A call is incoming. Operative Jameson. Good to hear from you, soldier. Get this communicator to Observer Wu. He will act as the liaison between the inevitable and the undaunted until such time as you are no longer in a crisis situation. Admiral Cistern orders. On my way, sir. Incidentally, you will need to prepare to receive replacement PAR-OTN packages. Yes, sir, Harold states. As you transport the communicator, I want a sitrep. Summarize. Dragged out of Axiom Lane by isolationist cult fringe faction. Currently, the cult appears to be schisming, and the focus of their worship is badly damaged if not destroyed. The inevitable has been upgraded several times to combat the current threats, and unorthodox techniques have been adopted to handle the situation. Sir. Shit, do they blame you? We're trying to avoid that, but several of the cult captains clearly do, even though they and we both have censor records to the opposite. What is the object of their worship? Can it be replaced or repaired? Massive cloud of space flora detritus. It was a drug that improves axiom skills. We don't know what its source was, but at high enough concentrations, it was flammable and was set off by the outcasts of the cult who are taking the roles of slavers to drag in new blood for this society. I see. And the advancements on the inevitable? They've followed several of the potential upgrades that were theorized with a few twists. 2 support vessels have been constructed. The larger vessel is the ram, smaller the rad. Repair and manufacturing and research and development respectively. Beyond that, it's a great deal of improved shields and weapons. Some armor enhancement as well, Harold reports as he finally enters the bridge. He projects his voice so everyone knows what he's here for. I'm at the bridge. I will be downloading the navigational information into our database and then passing the communicator off to Observer Wu as instructed Admiral Cistern, sir. See to it, soldier. Admiral Cistern's voice broadcasts out from the communicator as he shifts over the bridge and plugs it into the navigation console. He transfers the files over and then unplugs it to present it to Observer Wu. Mission complete, sir. I will make myself ready to receive the replacement Pro-TN package. Dismiss, soldier. Admiral Cistern states, and Harold vanishes from the bridge. Someone tell me where we are already. I hate steering blind like this. Shadow complains from his position. Give me a few seconds. I'm synchronizing the information. We should have our current location in a few. Vinoc Nebula. Our current location is the Vinoc Nebula, 27 light-years against the spin of the galaxy and 4 degrees downwards from the galactic lane we were dragged out of. Technically frontier space, but no permanent settlement registered for 60 light-years in any direction of it. Vuxa is the second closest to this location. Thank goodness, Captain Rongi mutters in deep relief. Just knowing where they were and having proper maps was a huge relief. Copy that information and back it up in every part of the ship. I want you personally carrying a data chit with it on it and one for myself. In fact, I want as many of those as possible with as many men as possible. I do not want to get lost again. Aye, Captain. So you're going deeper and deeper into the ash and dust then? Herbert sends with the idea of a broom and dustpan following it. Looks like we're going to plow right through the source of the nebula and keep going at this rate. We can outgun any one of their ships easily, but there's at least 8 and more on the approach. And the unofficial statement was non-lethal. This is a pickle, Herbert notes as he thinks the taste of a pickle at Harold. I'm going to jump onto my communicator now and make a few calls. I have an idea. An evil idea, Harold teases. I have nothing but malice in my mind. Herbert admits with the sensation of a very cheeky smile being sent through the link. Little man is having too much fun with his emoji use. Are you thinking of adding more people to our little call? Focus everyone to focus on a totem that links everyone up for some insane casting or something? Now, I see we're still pretty close together, and you can't tell me it doesn't sound cool. It does, but we can do more, Harold says, and the emoji of Herbert trying to shake the answer out of him comes through. Can we get the sorcerers and primals in on this? That is a very, very good question. I have a lot of calls to make. Stay on the line. It connects to my brain. I can't exactly pull it out. You can, but it's not advised. Are you talking about the brain or the connection? Does it matter? Admiral Cistern, if you have any advice to offer, then I will be glad for it. We are well beyond our original intent with this journey. Such is the way of the galaxy, Observer Wu. There is no shame in being blindsided by the unexpected, only in failing to deal with it. From what my soldier reports, you have done very well for yourselves, but I would like more information. What is the genetic makeup of your opponent? Primarily Feli and Volpir, the cats and foxes. 2 common races, the galaxy over. Feli are known for tactile sensitivity and keen hearing, which makes them excellent engineers and artisans. Volpir are a very diplomatic and leadership-oriented people, but have a racial oversensitivity on the olfactory front, leading to them having a reputation as homewreckers, taking 1 or 2 whiffs of a man they vaguely met and being bonded to them. If you can identify any Feli in positions of prominence in this group, you can assume they are at least moderately exceptional at leadership skills and capacity. These are just general assumptions, however. Have you spotted anything else species-wise? I have not, sir. Then we move to the next thing of concern. I have been informed that the enemy is undergoing a schism. What are the factions, even the ones that are still allied? 3. Cultists, ranchers, and slavers. The ranchers are still allied to the cultists, but seem to have no martial power beyond the defenses on their stations and the Lulgarda they ranch. The slavers are betraying the cultists by departing and faking their deaths rather poorly. And finally, the cultists are in a nearly incoherent rage due to the destruction of the Vinok Nebula. Are the Lulgarda on your scanners? Not currently. Keep your eyes open for them. Lulgarda are not very capable of void combat, but if you let them get close, they will cause us significant damage. They have the strength to crush emplacements and are so low power that unless you're scanning for them, then they can be used as stealth attackers. Anything else? Yes, we're sending reinforcements. They will only divert on your say-so. Glad to hear it. Do you need to know more, Observer Wu? Does Captain Rangi? Admiral Cistern, we will be sending scan ship schematics as soon as we are able, and requesting weapon designs and tactical recommendations the moment we get something beyond a single communicator to talk with you. Understood. That Pro-TN package is nearly complete, and it appears operatives Jameson and Jameson are up to something. Herbert is making an enormous number of calls. And knowing Harold, it's going to be something absurdly over the top and tactically potent. It is. We have an idea, sir. Harold says, joining them on the bridge with a package tucked under his arm. I've got the Pro-TN, sir, and an idea. Do not keep us in suspense. We're still retreating from enemy forces. Exactly, sir. We can get our hostage back, Harold says, elaborate. We can restore the nebula. I need to get onto the source. But if you get me there, then through Herbert, I can channel a huge amount of axiom skill contributed by many friendly adepts for a single, massive, long-distance cast. We have a technique that allows the restoration of things. If we restore enough of the source, then that will shock the cult into stopping. To say nothing of the outright dance routine it'll do to their cult dogma and the sheer confusion that will sow. Put it all together, and we have a way to basically paralyze our enemy on the way out and guarantee escape. Well, you don't want for ambition, do you? Did I mention that we're also tagging in the sorcerers of Serbo, Lilb, Tulib, and Sobenride, as well as the primals currently on or around Lakran? In addition to our own adepts, Observer Wu states. Yes, Harold confirms, and they're going to channel all that raging nonsense through you. Wu presses. Yes, sir. I don't even know how to respond to this anymore. Did you take the fact I'm acclimatizing to the madness of the galaxy as a challenge? I hadn't even voiced that observation. Observer Wu asks. I noted you were drinking less and decided to do something about it, Harold says without the slightest hint of shame on his face. That was not the answer I wanted. Alas, it's the answer we've got, Harold says with a big smile. It's inevitable. The enemy fleets chasing them grew and grew, showing that while in the galactic scale of things, this cult was small and likely insignificant, it was an entire society. A cult the size of a nation, a stellar nation, albeit a small one. Their casual population numbers have them outnumbered thousands to one. However, they were still following dogma, and more of them were only following directly behind them, as if they don't want to potentially damage the burnt-out ruin of their sacred nebula. Too much dust and debris to just blast away, and the only clear path is in. Begin production of magnetic mines, depth charges, whatever they're called in a setting like this. They want to follow us? They need to pay attention, Captain Rangi states. His tone is bitter. But he can't let the horror stories he's heard and the few he's worked to prevent a repeat of define him. If mine laying is the proper answer to this problem, then he will have mines laid. It is that simple. Sir, ash density increasing exponentially, we are nearing a full atmosphere's worth of particulates. We need to slow down or risk sandblasting our ship. Then slow down appropriately. I want this ship going at maximum safe speeds at all times. Keywords are safe speeds, Captain Rangi states. Sir, I'm not sure what the official term for this is beyond what the fuckery, but we're getting a massive, shifting, and ever-growing axiom buildup inside our ship. Centralizing on Jameson's location, he's preparing for a massive axiom technique. He intends it to be a distraction. It will likely be more. Sir, the issue is that there's something else on the axiom sensors. Elaborate. It's registering as not axiom, but the computer is unable to quantify what else it could be. It's also showing up more and more error messages. What the hell is the man tapping into? It's not null, and if it's not axiom, then what's going on? Captain Rangi has no answer to that. Undaunted, come in, please, Observer Wu says into the communicator. Undaunted here. Go ahead, inevitable. A strange energy is being manipulated by Operative Harold Jameson. We are receiving numerous error messages on our scanning equipment. Does this have anything to do with the massive axiom technique he is planning to perform? What do you mean it's registering as an error? Just that. Harold E.S. drawing in an absurd amount of axiom and something else. Excuse me, I need to make a call. The person on the other end says, and Observer Wu gets put on hold. He looks to Captain Rangi, who looks back in concern. At the very edge of their hearing, there is a not sound. Just beyond where they can feel it, there is a non-sensation. A color that is not starts slowly dripping into reality. What the hell are they even doing? Mother Superior Binary demands as her sensors start glitching out. I don't know, ma'am. There's nothing wrong with our equipment, and the ship lurches as something slams into them, and there are screams. Mines! They've mined the sacred nebula! The absolute pieces of shit! Focus the sensors on finding those things before, Mother Superior Binary says before there's some sudden swearing from her helmswoman. Just dodged one. Warn everyone else and make sure we don't hit any more. Oh, wow. Alara Salm the Younger states as she watches the children move and sway together as they focus on something. Not all of them are connected to the forest, but those that are leading those that aren't. There is a sheer sense of weight to things as Chief Brewy gives her an odd look. The bi-weekly checkup on the children was now something far more. What are they doing? Where are they sending the energy? I don't know, but they don't seem hurt or anything. He sticks a finger in his ear and wriggles it, noticing that his father is doing the same. You hear that? I do. Robert Jameson, father of Charlie Jameson and grandfather of Herbert Jameson, says, like my tinnitus, but different. It's not too distracting. Back to the game? He asks, and Robert smiles before picking up the backgammon dice. Excuse me, but do either of you hear that? Emma Jameson asks her husband and father-in-law. Organic diamonds surrounded by strands of room-temperature superconductors are pressed together as Emmanuel Skidderway meditates, focusing upon the small Kutha totem. A bit of a family project. If nothing else, this would be interesting, and he hadn't grown to be more, hadn't brought himself back to life, and then stepped onto the level of an immortal by shying away from interesting things. So he was channeling not only axiom, but contributing an even greater power into the field. The sensation of the other direction flowed and moved, and this day they would learn and adapt and grow. No matter what the results of what this assistance would give to the inevitable, they would learn. There was value in the act. Isarazin, grandmother, Thessalia, and more were here, contributing. Grandmother had been intrigued at the idea and wanted to know. Thessalia was all on board with assisting her little project, and Isarazin and he were a team, to say nothing of the others that have come. What do you think is going on? A Barless girl asks, as the entire village had gone still, and there was sense of sheer stillness and movement at the same time. I don't know, a Harkul replies, but no one is present enough to actually argue. The totem is held in 8 hands between 2 people, primal and adept, one allied with the man requesting aid, and the other simply happy to help anyone and everyone in need of it. Arden, is something wrong? Callie Flynn asks. Nothing is wrong, but everything is moving. Again. Arden answers as he can sense so much. Whatever that stuff is, it's stabilizing the link. We should have failed 100 times per second, but it's happening. Moden says in a breathless tone as he has his hand on Dr. Grace's shoulder, as Dr. Grace has his hand on Herbert's shoulder. There's so much, Herbert says in an odd tone. His eyes have lost all color. Too much to do nothing with, Harold says, his voice echoing back along the link. Are we ready? Charlie looks around with a shocked expression. His father is looking around as well. Tell me you heard that. We have to be hearing something. Are we ready for what? Robert asks before Charlie's phone starts buzzing from a received text message. Charlie checks it, and it's from his daughter. What? Emily. She just heard her brother. She just heard Herbert's voice. What's happening? Robert asks. I don't know. Sir, anomalous energy levels are stabilizing. Axiom levels increasing. We're well past saturation point by now. He should have nulled us. Hard, Thunder calls out. Sir, we're also approaching some kind of gap in the nebula cloud. ETA 5 minutes. Sir, the gap corresponds with the centermost system of the nebula, its theoretical origin point. Keep going. If the big crazy magic plan is going to work anywhere, it's going to be there. If not, then we can keep moving and blast through to the other side. Most of these girls are trying to chase us and gathering behind, Captain Rangi states. He then taps at the controls of his command couch. Harold, are you still with us? We are. The voice of a legion replies, and Captain Rangi isn't sure if he's being fucked with or if there's actually some kind of Jameson continuum being created. We are a few minutes away from being near the source as far as we understand. Are you ready? We are, Harold replies again. Then stand ready. Will you need a warning? We will not. Enough with a creepy voice. Speak like a normal human. What about me has ever been a normal human? And I am connected to an entire army of people stuffing energy into my being and getting ready to mold it through me. It is really hard to tell myself apart from the whole right now, Harold says. Just keep moving. I've got a beacon in my quarters here. I'm going now. I'll be back. Sir, the energy is gone. It's further into the nebula. Harold has teleported deeper in. Keep moving. Whatever he's planning to do is massive axiom buildup. Keep moving, girls. Our old way of life is... Commodore Binary trails off as something happens to the nebula. It hasn't even had time to fully burn away, and according to the sensors and hacks she had in her grandmother's fleet, it was back. It was... How? The nebula was already back. Sir, I give up. Nebula is back. It is not burning on our fucking engine as it logically should, and Harold is apparently already back. Sensors calls out. The world has gone insane and we just keep plowing through. Harold Jameson, please come in. Captain Rangi asked, trying to bring him up on the system. There is no answer. Operative Jameson, please respond. He looks to Observer Wu before signaling one of Harold's wives to go and check on the man. If they're in a relationship with him, then they can deal with whatever level of madness has arrived. Sir, the drift on the enemy shifts shows they're no longer actively pursuing us and are just moving on sheer momentum. Rapidly slowing down too due to the density of Sir, our location within the nebula has just entirely changed. What? We've just been entirely shifted in location and... Sir, that was a woodwalk. We've been woodwalked. The whole ship just underwent a woodwalk. Sirichar calls out over the ship line. What the hell just happened? How did we just woodwalk? Calm down. First step is to get out of the nebula, then we can think. Escape then, navel gaze. In that order. Now, little one. That might have been scary, but you're fine. Mommy is here and nothing bad has happened, although your cute little eyes are even cuter now. I wonder what you're seeing, little baby. Yzma notes to her adopted little baby boy. Cloned to her great-grandson-in-law and apparently influenced by some strange stunt. Her little one wasn't hurt by it, but clearly startled and confused and apparently much more energetic if the axiom those markings are giving off mean anything. But what strange little markings they are. Like a blue diamond on the forehead, and under each eye are two sets of swooshing red. But axiom is flowing out of these markings in a way that suggests they come from the eyes. But where is the axiom coming from? The little one isn't taking the axiom from anywhere. He's making more. What exactly is pouring out and away from his now pure white eyes? And why does it equal axiom when it runs over those symbols? Well, he doesn't do anything by halves, does he? Uma asks, as Giria helps her haul him onto their bed. Harold is changed. Whatever he did has altered the nebula, altered him, and who knows what else. Dynamic markings are bleeding axiom off his face and look like warrior tattoos. They're resonating with something to create axiom, fueling the area around him, but it's attuned to him primarily, dancing to his presence, aligning with the whims of his dreams and desires. His every slight twitch causes the axiom he's creating to jump. He's not primal. The other humans would have been changed if he was. Giria notes as she lets Harold's eye close. It's pure white. But he is changed. Is anyone in there? Captain Rangi asks over the comm system. Yes, sir. We're here. Harold is unconscious. physically changed. He has markings producing axiom energy on his face, and his eyes are pure white. He seems unhurt, but is out cold. Giria calls up. Changed? That he's producing axiom? Somehow, it's actively growing stronger in his presence. Get a doctor in there to look him over. This is big. His eyes twitch and he squirms before waking up. Herbert lets out a groan as he tries to rise, but the hands of multiple men push him back down. You just underwent a change, Mr. Jameson. I advise you to stay still until we know what happened, Dr. Grace notes. Herbert takes a few deep breaths and holds up a thumbs up. I can feel it. The axiom, you're producing it and it's attuned to you. I could use it, but nowhere near as easily as you can. There's also the question of where the energy is coming from, Dr. Grace notes. Beyond, of course, the other direction as Emmanuel described it. Where else could it come from? Moden asks. Maybe, Dr. Grace says before some laughter escapes him. All that effort my clone went through to make me a primal, and she was using the wrong energies. No, if you were, then something would have happened to the others here. But you got close, very close, Dr. Grace says as Herbert's communicator starts going insane. Hello, he answers it. Herbert, our babies. Something happened. Their eyes are blank and they have strange markings on them, making axiom. Are you all right? Charlie asks his father. No. Well, actually, yes. I haven't felt like this since my 40s, Robert says as he stands up straight and cracks his neck. But your face has changed. Your eyes are blank, and I feel like I've been hooked up to the power grid. What is going on? I don't know, but do you want to bet it's related to why we were hearing Herbert's voice? That is a reasonable assumption. What kind of spy versus spy silliness can a man get up to that causes something like this? Even if he looks like a teenager at the time. It's inevitable. Countless images pound into his head as he sits up, feeling the weight of damn. Whatever he had done, it was already slipping away somehow. But he had done something big, and why had he seen his family back on Earth? People that he, Harold, had never met. He opens his eyes and something is off. Everything is off, and yet not. He's acclimatized to this change, but changed he is. How? His gaze turns and he stops. He can see his reflection, and he instinctively pulls at the axiom to speed up his mind so he can consider. His eyes, pure white. His skin is marked. 2 sweeping red marks under each eye, and the center of his forehead has a blue diamond shape. In the axiom flows out from the markings, but it's not pulling from the nearby area to recycle it or adjust it. It's emerging, not just as a normal axiom, but as something that it bends and twists to his every consideration. Not much, not an overwhelming amount, but a reliable amount, a constant amount. Axiom is with him. He starts to trace back where it came from, and the sense of danger lunges at him, and he ducks back as something tries to bite him. An astral Hargath. He's drawing power from the other direction and turning it into axiom. That's weird. Cool, but weird. Useful, though. He lets the sensation fade and rises up. It doesn't fully dissipate, though, and he spends a moment watching the thin blanket that had covered him fall in slow motion. He plucks it out of the air before it hits the ground, and he focuses for a moment to fully purge the acceleration effect. So his axiom enhancements are sticky now. That could be very useful. The worst thing that can happen in an axiom-concentrated fight is to lose focus. But if his affects stick for a bit, that's a lifesaver. You're up, the doctor says, and he turns and nods. It's one of the ones on the rad. So they shifted him around a bit while I was out? Well, considering he seems to have a shifted species, he can understand the caution. I am. How do you feel? Good. Very good, actually. My vision seems to be I'm not sure enhanced is the right word, but it's certainly not impaired. Axiom use is even easier now, and I suspect the energy source is the other direction, meaning that I've really put my foot in it. What were you expecting? I spent a good bit of time trying to figure out all the X factors you were working with, and from what I can tell, you were doing, like affects, like bit of nonsense straight out of voodoo. While channeling a huge amount of energy, you did this with the aid of three entities that play merry havoc with spacetime and consider humans more akin to the cells that compose their beings, while trying to reverse time and having energies that are beyond time added to it. While you got what you wanted, you also got way, way, way more than expected. Name a single person on this ship that isn't an overachiever. Don't ask me to do the impossible, boy, he replies. No, no, such thing, Harold says with a grin. He cracks his neck and then rolls his shoulders before taking a few steps to the mirror he had spotted. My face is different. In the make of it, I think... Wait. He rubs the central diamond and blinks. What the hell? Nothing changed, but everything changed. What? Okay. Is that a Jameson thing or a new variant thing? Harold asks as his face is now back to being so uninteresting that it slides out of the mind. He rubs the marking again and he feels something flow over him. Oh, okay, the new stuff is making the face interesting rather than boring. Got it. Just sort of rub it off and I go back to normal. A face that's natural camouflage isn't normal. Nothing about the Jameson lineage is, the doctor states. And how would you know? I've gone through your medical files, and that includes a family history. A lot of child actors in the 40s and 50s. To our regret, nearly everyone who went into that came out broken or were lost. Hollywood is hell on our family, to say nothing of random pedophiles, Harold remarks. Thankfully, we learned from that and kept everyone home safe until the looks started going. But if this nonsense makes them come back and makes it to Earth, oh no, reports from beyond the stars. Get away from me, Emily protests as she shoves off the idiot and he staggers back. First, she stared hearing Herbert's voice, then that huge thing, and now she had weird tattoos on her face and her eyes were white, pure white. Her job as the plain Jane accountant is bad enough. Now she has all this weirdness added to it. But no, that voice couldn't have been her brother. She had been cleared to see the video. He was like 14 now or something. It's inevitable. Countless images pound into his head as he sits up, feeling the weight of, damn. Whatever he had done, it was already slipping away somehow. But he had done something big, and why had he seen his family back on Earth? People that he, Harold, had never met. He opens his eyes and something is off. Everything is off and yet not. He's acclimatized to this change, but changed he is. How? His gaze turns and he stops. He can see his reflection and he instinctively pulls at the axiom to speed up his mind so he can consider. His eyes, pure white. His skin is marked, 2 sweeping red marks under each eye, and the center of his forehead has a blue diamond shape. In the axiom flows out from the markings, but it's not pulling from the nearby area to recycle it or adjust it. It's emerging, not just as a normal axiom, but as something that it bends and twists to his every consideration. Not much, not an overwhelming amount, but a reliable amount, a constant amount. Axiom is with him. He starts to trace back where it came from, and the sense of danger lunges at him, and he ducks back as something tries to bite him. An astral Hargath. He's drawing power from the other direction and turning it into axiom. That's weird. Cool, but weird. Useful, though. He lets the sensation fade and rises up. It doesn't fully dissipate, though, and he spends a moment watching the thin blanket that had covered him fall in slow motion. He plucks it out of the air before it hits the ground, and he focuses for a moment to fully purge the acceleration effect. So his axiom enhancements are sticky now. That could be very useful. The worst thing that can happen in an axiom-concentrated fight is to lose focus. But if his affects stick for a bit, that's a lifesaver. You're up. the doctor says, and he turns and nods. It's one of the ones on the rad. So they shifted him around a bit while I was out? Well, considering he seems to have a shifted species, he can understand the caution. I am. How do you feel? Good. Very good, actually. My vision seems to be, I'm not sure enhanced is the right word, but it's certainly not impaired. Axiom use is even easier now, and I suspect the energy source is the other direction, meaning that I've really put my foot in it. What were you expecting? I spent a good bit of time trying to figure out all the X factors you were working with, and from what I can tell, you were doing, like affects, like bit of nonsense straight out of voodoo. While channeling a huge amount of energy, you did this with the aid of 3 entities that play merry havoc with space-time and consider humans more akin to the cells that compose their beings, while trying to reverse time and having energies that are beyond time added to it. While you got what you wanted, you also got way, way, way more than expected. Name a single person on this ship that isn't an overachiever. Don't ask me to do the impossible, boy, he replies. No, such thing, Harold says with a grin. He cracks his neck and then rolls his shoulders before taking a few steps to the mirror he had spotted. My face is different in the make of it. I think... Wait. He rubs the central diamond and blinks. What the hell? Nothing changed, but everything changed. What? Okay. Is that a Jameson thing or a new variant thing? Harold asks as his face is now back to being so uninteresting that it slides out of the mind. He rubs the marking again and he feels something flow over him. Oh, okay, the new stuff is making the face interesting rather than boring. Got it. Just sort of rub it off and I go back to normal. A face that's natural camouflage isn't normal. Nothing about the Jameson lineage is, the doctor states. And how would you know? I've gone through your medical files, and that includes a family history. A lot of child actors in the 40s and 50s. To our regret, nearly everyone who went into that came out broken or were lost. Hollywood is hell on our family, to say nothing of random pedophiles, Harold remarks. Thankfully, we learned from that and kept everyone home safe until the looks started going. But if this nonsense makes them come back and makes it to Earth, oh no, reports from beyond the stars. Get away from me, Emily protests as she shoves off the idiot and he staggers back. First, she stared hearing Herbert's voice, then that huge thing, and now she had weird tattoos on her face and her eyes were white, pure white. Her job as the plain Jane accountant is bad enough. Now she has all this weirdness added to it. But no, that voice couldn't have been her brother. She had been cleared to see the video. He was like 14 now or something. An invisible color is providing contrast, Emma says, and Robert snaps his fingers as he points to her and nods. We're not ill. I don't think we're... Charlie begins to say before his phone starts buzzing, and he sees that the group chat app his family uses is going insane with dozens upon dozens of messages. He activates it and sees picture after picture of white-eyed Jameson, with their face altered by the red and blue markings. It's not just us, it's the whole family. Ha, ha, ha! Robert suddenly exclaims as he throws a series of punches and looks disappointed. No fireballs? Charlie snorts in amusement at that. Maybe it's the style. Didn't that kid's show use different martial arts styles to bring out the elements? Emma teases and Robert's eyes light up. That might be it. Come on, you two. We're going to learn how to throw lightning. What makes you think we can suddenly throw fire or lightning? That axiom or whatever, the space magic. It has to be why we've suddenly changed. Herbert did something so big that the whole family feels it. And if the magic can touch us in that way, then maybe we can touch it back and use it. But isn't Earth in the middle of a huge null zone? You know, the thing that stops the space magic from working? Emma protests. This change got through, didn't it? Robert asks. Well, yes, but it would have to be magic for it to... What else do you call this? Robert asks with excitement. Now, come on, let's go outside. We don't want to burn down the house I made with my Gertrude. No, one wants this old house to burn down, Father. I'm sure we can find someone. Robert says, all but bouncing out of the building. Guess he's happy he doesn't need the cane anymore. Emma notes, I don't think anyone enjoys needing a cane. It's inevitable. Thank goodness it didn't do anything to the Axiom brand. These things are an absolute hell to reapply. Harold notes as he lets the doctor poke at him. The fact you burn it into your skin and don't wear it as a ring or something is insanity. Yes, because we accomplished all this by being reasonable, Harold notes with a roll of his eyes. Is that sarcasm, or are you actually claiming the insanity defense? The doctor asks. Sarcasm, Harold says. I guess I need to be more expressive when I roll my eyes. Make it a whole head gesture. Right, and speaking of eyes, hold still. The doctor says as he brings out a few tools to examine Harold's eyes. The physical structure is still present, but this is odd. How so? The eye itself appears to be chemically altered, but still functioning as normal. The differences between sclera, iris, and pupil appear to still be there, but there's no color variation to it, which is very odd as the pupil is more or less a well-protected hole into the eye. The reason it's black is because the eye absorbs the light, and so it looks dark. So why is mine as white as the rest of the eye? A white iris can be understandable. White sclera is normal, but the pupil is an absence of light. Exactly. Your eyes are markedly different in some way now, and it's doing something. Unfortunately, figuring out the mechanics will require a thorough examination that we can't do while potentially under fire. I don't trust that we can do surgery with the ship being thrown like a ping-pong ball in a potato cannon. There's a story there, one that I am not legally allowed to disclose. Now I want to know even more. I know, the doctor says with a mean smile. Anyways, you're not contagious. You have lost no ability, and I can't find any medical or ethical reason to keep you in here. But I want you back when we're out of the firing line. I want samples from those markings in your eyes. Creepy, Harold teases him. Medical science often is. Now move. The doctor orders, and Harold quickly puts his shirt back on, followed by his jacket before grabbing his boots. By the way, how long was I out for? 4 hours. I'm assuming that the lack of alarms of people looking for me means we had an easier time of it. So what happened? Harold asked as he slips his boots on. The nebula is acting funny, and not ha-ha funny. We are unable to currently leave it, and we have encountered no other ships or debris. We should have exited already, but are still within it. Shit, Harold remarks. There's more. We have guests. Guests? Well, me for one, a familiar voice says, and Harold stands up straight to look Koga straight in the glasses. You really did a number on yourself. Did we turn the nebula into a living forest? Yes. I'm not sure if this is good or bad. The forests are dangerous but reasonable. But the cultists are not reasonable, and they're most likely to be brought in. Hence why I'm here and high on purple space spores, Koga remarks, and Harold just pauses for a moment and blinks as he processes that. This is your fault. You're not allowed to be surprised. Well, too bad, Ninja Boy. I've had a hell of a time, Harold remarks before getting serious. I saw them. Who? Back on Earth. The Jamesons. Do you think? I don't know. But it's certainly something to think about. We were supposed to explore beyond cruel space, not destroy it, Koga remarks as he considers. Then the other Koga shows up, and Harold takes a moment to place that Daiki is the one on the left and Daiju on the right. To be fair, though, Daiju says, joining the conversation, we've broken many things, expectations mostly, but it was only a matter of time until laws of nature or understanding were going to be added to the list. Right, well, how are negotiations with the Void Forest? Nebula Forest? Whatever you want to call it, what stage are we at? Will it let us go? We're getting there. It already grabbed up some sorcerers, and they're struggling to understand things. We're helping them. Unfortunately, the cult is... They took example from some of the worst gravids, and that's slowing things down. OOCS, Into a Wider Galaxy, Part 269. It's inevitable. That should not be my job at all, Observer Wu. It's not being forced on you, sir. It's being requested of you, Daiki notes. Requested of me by an entity that can be seen light years away with the naked eye. Oh, come on, you should know that the size of an opponent rarely matters. Surely you've arrested men larger than yourself, Daiju says, And Observer Wu turns an unimpressed look towards the now rejuvenated man. Things get a little more complicated when the person you're dealing with less individual and more geography. Technically, you're more negotiating with astrology, Daiju states, and Daiki sighs at his grandfather's antics. Observer Wu, please ignore my grandfather. He had already entered his second childhood before his rejuvenation, and that appears to be one thing that was not corrected by it, Daiki remarks as he adjusts his glasses and ignores the exaggerated look of hurt from Daiju. I will. Now the nebula. It wants me to negotiate with it? It appears to wish to be called the Astral Forest, and yes, thanks to the memories that both the lush forest and the dark forest have of you, they know you as a reasonable and patient man who is willing to listen. That is what they want at the negotiation table, Daiki says, and Observer Wu nods. There is now a knock at his office door. Enter, Observer Wu states, and it opens to show him the altered face of Harold Jameson. I will be speaking with you next. Please have a seat. Harold nods and then rubs the blue marking in his forehead. Suddenly, his very presence seems to be altered. I said I will deal with you next. You don't need to grab attention, boy. Oh, that is interesting, Daiju notes. Grandfather, focus, Daiki states. The Astral Forest's sorcerers were already incorporated into it. Is the pattern holding up? Is sorcery still a male-exclusive art form? It seems to be. I'm not sure why, though. We thought it was because culturally among the Apuk, only the men are allowed to be so vulnerable. But we were able to open up easily, and the small boys on Lilb Talelb attuned in large numbers. But Alarasom the Younger, who was incredibly vulnerable, was not able to fully merge with the forest. We have some at or near her level, but no fully sorceress females. We do not yet know why. Psalm? Is that not one of the noble families of Serbo? Oh right, we didn't tell you. And there's a lot we're not allowed to tell you. Lilb Tulilb is still a legal mess, large enough to have its own gravitational pull. But Alarasom the Younger was in an emotional state that in any Apuk man would have produced a sorcerer. She was also there during the awakening of the Bright Forest and has been inhabiting it since. But she has not become a sorcerer. We do not know why. And the pattern has held with this nebula? It has, and Daiki begins, before suddenly there is a figure that for a single microsecond is standing next to him with his hand on his shoulder. The figure is slammed into the floor and pinned with a knife to his throat by Harold. The room is still. That wasn't smart, Harold notes as he gets up and hauls the man up before sheathing his knife. We have doors. Use them, please. You. Okay. Wait, did you just reject the nebula? The purple-clad stranger with a Volpir's general frame asks in a flurry. It's a man, but a very thin man and completely covered in purple robes. I did, Harold says. Why? Not my scene. I'm happy to help and have help, but I want to stand for myself and by myself at times. Sorcery just isn't for me. But it makes you strong. I am strong, strong enough to lead the resurrection and rebirth of the nebula, Harold protests. Anyways, who are you and what's so important that you needed to violate every safety protocol we have and risk your head getting sliced off? I didn't know there was a risk of that. Sir, if you could please answer the question. And Harold, is there any way at all you can think of to keep them out? Sorcerers use the idea of everything being interconnected taken to an extreme to teleport like that. Only way to keep them out is to boot them all out of your office and scour it of any remaining nebula pieces left behind. And considering that robe is covered in the stuff, and he's no doubt ground a good chunk into the carpet. This fucking galaxy. Harold, why have you done this to me? In my defense, I only thought I was resurrecting the nebula, not awakening it. Overachievers. They'll be the death of me. No, that will be liver failure, Harold remarks, and Observer Wu glares at him as Daiju snickers. Clearly, Observer Wu says grimly, before pointing to the Kogas, the new sorcerer, and then Harold in turn. Okay, let's just get everything out of the way. I need to know 3 things. Is the ship in danger? What do you want? And what have you done to yourself? We're safe, but the nebula won't let us go until we help people sort things out. The men it's connected to know they're not up to proper negotiations and want professional help, Daiki states. That's what I'm here for. I really need to know a lot of things, and I need questions answered. The sorcerer states, okay, I can do that. As soon as you tell me what you've done to yourself and how far-reaching this is. It's already affected every known Jameson clone and the original and your human nieces and nephews. I am producing personalized axiom. My eyes are perceiving something I cannot process that's giving reality an invisible but powerful contrast while still functioning perfectly well. And finally, as for how far-reaching it is, I think this may have reached Earth. Harold admits, and Observer Wu slumps in his chair with a groan of despair as he holds his head in his hands. Really now? Daiju asks in an intrigued tone. I saw the entire extended Jameson family. Original, clones, relatives in and out of cruel space. There may be some issues on the homeworld. Now I kind of want to go back to Earth, Daiju notes absently. Please no, I don't think it'll survive, Observer Wu says in a strained tone. Reports from beyond the stars. She stares forward as the retinoscope is used by the optometrist. Nothing was making much sense. Her eyes were working fine. Better than fine, her vision had actually improved to the point she could read a full row lower than before. I'm not sure what to make of this, Dr. Bansal notes. But whatever has happened to your eyes is well and truly beyond my expertise. Your eyes have been changed in ways I cannot truly describe. It is as if they were plucked from your head and new ones put in place, but even if that were true, then you would still have a pupil. I cannot find yours, but you can still see, despite having nothing in the way for a hole for light to enter. I do not know what this means. Furthermore, your eyes are producing light rather than absorbing it. I suspect it's helping you see, but I'm an optometrist, my training is limited, and this is more than beyond that. I'm sorry. Well, great. And the fact it's happened to my entire extended family at once, Emily asks? No idea. Which makes this all the more confusing. I've been your grandfather's optometrist for 12 years now. His eyes seem to have been repaired. He used to be moderately nearsighted. Now he is not, and he hasn't had anything in the way of LASIK surgery. But he always refused it. Vehemently and loudly. After explaining the process of LASIK, he was always against it happening to him. Now he's gotten something better done. And according to you, it took only a few minutes at most from when you first heard something ringing, then your brother's voice followed by everything shifting, Dr. Bansal says before sighing. Look, I'm not qualified in any way to actually tell you what's happened. I do not know. My equipment only tells me what is. The why we can only surmise from the clues left behind. And this is unlike anything I have ever seen. But I can write you a note certifying you have come to me and explaining what little I have learned. If nothing else, it should cut down on testing in the next place you seek out answers to this mystery. It's inevitable. Well, hello, how are you holding up? Herbert asks the moment Harold calls him. Well, the markings seem to be almost switches. Not really. You don't need to rub them to turn off the whole weirdness they're doing around the face. I see. How's the family? I think I saw all the Jamesons and, well, the kids are fine. None are hurt, but all of them are changed. Herbert says it before grinning. We got a bit of a scare there for a moment. Axiom effects are more enduring when using personalized axiom. I noticed I gave myself some time to think, and it stuck around longer than it should have. Not at complete strength, though. Now here's the question, brother. Is it a stable effect or different from person to person? I'm sure some generalities are stable, but the fine details will no doubt vary, Harold says in a considering tone. Maybe, possibly even likely, Herbert says. How has the madness shaken out at your end? The nebula is alive. Alive as in back or alive in the way of the astral forest? Oh, shit. Yeah. Wait, you were saying that the locals were huffing the fumes. That means that everyone there is infested by a sentient nebula now. Yes. Has it done anything? It wants to negotiate, and it wants Observer Wu to do it. Oh, indeed, Harold notes. How did things go so crazy? It started with a bunch of tugs literally forcing us out of an axiom lane, and then a sonic bomb appearing in the ship to shatter the Paro-TN. Then we learned the tugs had left teleporting bombers on the outside of the ship that targeted data cores to kill our navigation. so running wasn't an option, Harold explains. After that, the only thing we had to navigate by was the Vinok Nebula, not that we knew it was the Vinok Nebula at the time. Interesting strategy. Were they hoping to starve you out or something? Get you away from the resources of the galaxy and just wait for time to do you in? Looks like that was the original plan, but that was no plan we had any intent to follow. And it looks like they've run off and gotten away. They think they have. I dropped off a few goodies on one of their ships. They haven't found them yet. I've been recording everything and fully intend to have a fleet drop on their heads when they finally start to relax and stop running. Nicely done. What trick did you use? The one where you disguise trackers and listening devices as excess material. The sort of thing that gets ignored, even by cleaning staff, especially if it's someplace hard to get to without damaging the devices. In this case, a captain's command couch. Perfect, Herbert says. So we have something to do when this mess is dealt with. Right, and has there been any testing done on the markings? What do each of them mean? What do they do? And why are our eyes like this? Still waiting on that. Samples have been taken, but they'll need examination, Herbert says. It's not a different material, though. Normal skin there, just color different. Then why does rubbing or focusing on the blue marking make the face more or less dynamic? I don't know, although I have some ideas. Shoot. Well, what if the utterly average and boring look of Jameson adults wasn't physical? What if it was an incredibly small axiom defense? Average looks are supposed to be generally appealing to all, not boring to the point of social invisibility. Herbert asks and Harold pauses, considers and then frowns. It's not good. If that theory is true or even gets out at all, then the Jamesons are at risk for having some kind of axiom grasp, even deep in the null. There might be more. Think about it. There are so many strange happenings on Earth that might be the result of comparatively subtle axiom use. Maybe, maybe not, but we need to keep this to ourselves. If there are predictable bloodlines that have some kind of axiom gift, then terrible, terrible things will happen to them. To say nothing of the fact that it's going to start a craze to examine any family that is off the average and try to figure them out. Then someone will notice that being average is a great disguise for being something else and no one is safe. I think we need to find a way to confirm this without anyone else knowing. I'm in private, mostly you, Harold asks as his gaze flickers to his wives. In intelligence. I know these boys. I trust them. What about those with you? My wives. All right. Okay, we need to figure this out without starting a potentially literal witch hunt on Earth, Herbert says and Harold sighs. I need to start vetting inevitable crew. We need an agent we can trust. OOCS, Into a Wider Galaxy, Part 270. The Dauntless. This one sticks out, the subject says. She's a simple civilian girl getting paid for some temp work. In this case, examining images of Harold before and after the change, the before pictures being modified to have the markings and empty eyes. And in this row, it's this one. She can identify the version of Harold with the more dynamic face each time, which should not be possible. The pictures were uploaded from another side of the galaxy and hit with null to be certain. There should be nothing in the axiom to cause his face to look more or less anything. But it was there. It was noticeably there. And this blind test with a civilian was locking it in. Who is this man? He's a lot more handsome than this man, even if they look... Hey, wait! They're the same man? What's going on? The girl asks as Herbert watches with his jaw somewhat dropped as she starts putting it together. She couldn't even recognize that it was the same person each time. She then picks up two pictures and lines them up together before holding them up to the light. I don't get it. The pictures are exactly the same. Yes, they are, ma'am. Thank you for your time, Mr. Heron says over the loudspeaker. He turns to give Herbert a look, and the man in the body of a boy huffs. So it's consistent even with blind testing. There is literally nothing different in the images, not on the physical or the axiom scale. But differences are still being casually detected, and the lack of differences is the surprise. Something is up. But what, and why is it happening now, and what caused it? Herbert asks. It clearly either occurred when or was exposed by the alteration that Harold accidentally made to the family, but it's completely consistent. Harold can somehow make his face handsome, which is weird, but the more I think about it, my own family's trait of becoming so dull that we vanish in every crowd and can barely even be pulled out of a police lineup while alone isn't normal. Our looks fade hard and fast, but they don't change. They just fade. Objectively, we're a very handsome family. But computer registration, people and images just have something that hides it. And Harold is breaking it. Likely all sorts of Jamesons are breaking it. But what is it? How did it get there? And why is it breaking now? Herbert muses. To say nothing of the fact that it is apparently not an axiom effect, but not a natural one. We already have fucking space magic. Is there really room for supernatural bullshit? The frustrated 12-13-year-old demands. There's always more, sir. It's just seems we have another variety, one that might potentially work without the other type. More, yes, which is, of course, a problem in its own right. Rare things get collected or studied, and my family having something rare. Perhaps not so rare, Mr. Heron says, and Herbert gives him an expectant look. Turn off the high beams, sir. This is unconfirmed so far, but I may have found other more supernatural occurrences that cannot be backtraced to axiom despite working in predictable manners. Like this fading of the Jamesons, such as Miss Isma, her own tendency and the tendency of her direct blood descendants. There is nothing in her DNA that actually dictates that she would have inverted galactic norms when it comes to reproduction. But with her great-granddaughter, you have a Zedin son, despite all odds stating your son with her should be human. Now here's the interesting thing. I can find no evidence of this predating her first grand repopulation effort. The Sonir were not the first species she first hunted as animals, then restored when they became people. The Osadub, like our guest here, reclusive, quiet, and hard-working bear people with a fondness for good and plentiful feasts and a tendency for massive retaliation if pressed. Harold says, nodding to the tall but extremely stocky and thickly built woman exiting the examination room to receive the second half of her payment. Already she's listing off a number of ingredients for numerous dishes under her breath. No doubt planning to eat her way through this payday. And honestly, a fish and berry dish does sound nice, but not 8 pounds in one sitting. Correct, the records are a little spotty from around that time, but apparently Isma had several children before then, all daughters, all Zedin. However, when she used her own womb to try and repopulate the Osadub after they evolved, she inexplicably began mothering Osadub daughters and occasionally birthing Zedin sons. Then oddity of oddities, only some of her granddaughters carry this trait while all of her daughters do. And the granddaughters that carry the trait, hunters. All of them are to some degree or another hunters. That is an oddity. I'll need to talk to her about the family. See about Zedin daughters who haven't picked up hunting. Herbert notes before groaning. Damn it, I'm too close to all parts of this investigation to be impartial. I like Isma, and she likes me. She even adopted one of my clones. But if this information gets out the wrong way, then it can cause insane harm to me and mine. We're on the lookout for at least one more oddity in the galaxy at large, but finding two that cannot be tracked to axiom means something. Yes, but the question is, what does it mean? One of these oddities is a defensive measure, the other almost a method of atonement. Where's the connection beyond both being borderline inexplicable? And there's also the question of, do these kinds of oddities congregate? Mr. Heron asks. Pardon? Well, I think it's a bit much to be a coincidence that a member of a family with an oddity like this would find themselves bound to another family with an oddity like this. Of all the Zedin lines and all the arrangement systems in all the galaxy, you get paired with this one? Those are some long odds, sir. Not if something is nudging those odds. Damn. Well, there's my mind plunging into paranoia. Familiar water, sir? Mr. Heron teases. Outright comfortable, Herbert says with a grin. And we are going to start our search by looking deeper into the families of my wives and the families of those who've adopted my clones. We have one example of oddities coming together. Let's see if it's a pattern or not. It's inevitable. Observer Wu's eyebrows are up as he watches a grown man in purple robes scream in frustration until his lungs run out of air, and then he proceeds to try and beat down the wall as he sucks in a breath and continues a tantrum. Sorry, wrong place, his guide and employer states sheepishly. Still getting used to this. It's why I have the EVA suit on, Observer Wu states blandly. Getting used to this nothing? You brought him to the wrong citadel entirely. One of the Koga states out of Observer Wu's line of sight. You do it like this. Reality heads out for a quick break and then comes back. Their new location is also full of the purple smoke and is much better prepared. Right. Yes. Sorry. My mind wandered because I could feel him. Well, he's having a bad time. What's wrong with him? Observer Wu asks. He was rescued as a small child. Now everything he knew is a lie. And you? I always knew something was up, but I always figured that things could be far, far worse. Not everyone's brave enough to fight. Or expect fighting to end well, the man says, and Observer Wu reaches out to pat him on the shoulder. Thankfully, his suit isn't too heavy, so he's not slamming the poor man's shoulder. But it won't stand up to much more than bringing a controlled atmosphere with him. Any plans for what to do after? Observer Wu asks. We refuse to be contained. And the nebula, I don't know if it agrees with us or is being influenced by us or, I don't know, but we want out. But at the same time, we do have family and friends here. And despite a lot of the mess that has happened, it's still home, you know. But many of us had homes before and a complicated situation where you need someone neutral to moderate. That's why I'm here, Observer Wu says, and the man nods. And the answer is yes, you are influencing the nebula, which is influencing you. It's a feedback loop. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but you need to be aware of it, especially if you start going into a bad loop. Just pay some attention or have friends willing to spot it for you. He's quite correct, Observer Wu states. Having people you trust is incredibly important. To put it into pithy terms, gang tactics may be unfair, but dealing with life is the most unfair fight you will ever have. So by all means, get some backup. Ganging up is unfair, but life is the most unfair fight there is, so do it, the man asks as he rephrases things and Observer Wu nods. I like that. I really like that. I'm glad to hear it. Now, where is our negotiation room? He asks and has a door to his right indicated. Not that he can easily see it. The architecture in this area makes everything blur together in the purple mist. It's annoying. Where's the smog and where's the paint that uses it? The whole area is like one of those rooms where everything is the exact same color. Set up a fog machine and have everything painted white, and your furniture is a hazard to your shins at the best of times, which was the madness happening here, except in purple. A rich, dark purple. Then the room shifts as someone does something, and the fog just settles onto every surface, before vanishing off the seat and table. Thank you. Observer Wu sits down at the newly revealed spot that seems to be one of the only places that actually exists in this purple void. Then the door opens, and he can much more easily make out a Volpir woman in the purple robes of the Order. She turns to him with the intent to glare, but he's gotten worse from better. He's not impressed. Mother Superior Binary, the man in the robes says as he grabs onto a nearly invisible chair's back and it starts to creak. Young one, your anger at me is entirely, cut the shit. The whole of the nebula is restored. I know what is happening, the man states. Sit down. How dare you presume to... Mother Superior Binary starts to say before she's suddenly jerked backwards and dislocates, so she staggers onto a chair and nearly falls backwards. Nicely done, Daiju notes. Thank you, the man states as he reaches up and pulls off his mask and veil, revealing himself to be an alpha man with a series of thin tattoos on the left side of his face, vaguely in a digital style reminiscent of a circuit board. I am Ricardus Damasio. You and your order stole the last 4 decades of my life. Now we are going to negotiate because the power is no longer in your favor. You blame me? My order and I rescued you from those vile slavers, Mother Superior Binary states. The slavers you have created and supported. The ones with your own family as part of them, Ricardus says before taking a deep breath and focusing. But that's not the point. We know how deep things go. We know now. So, the only question is how deep are you going to dig this pit before you tell the truth for once in your miserable life? Drop the hostility levels, Observer Wu advises. You have her at the table, willing or not. If you wish to negotiate, then negotiate. Threats are another thing entirely. Oh, it's not that I want anything from her, but unfortunately she represents most of the order, including the ones innocent and those deceived by her in her order. So the only thing I want to know is if we can use her to stand down the rest. Likely, but negotiation implies you're willing to give something up in return. It's called a compromise or making a bargain, a trade. They've taken everything from us already. The order owes us. Ricardus hisses out as the purple fog starts gathering around him and twisting in his presence in agitated streams that slam into each other hard enough that it sounds like wood slamming into wood.